100% get your give public servant bless. Mr. President, listen to the people. Search your soul and you will confess. I want you try surviving on the public base. Then you're gonna know but stress. Cause I done fed up, you done fed up, he done fed up, she done fed up, we done fed up, the people fed up. You're hiding corruption inside the cup. Look how evil set up. The people fed up. They done drive no fear with the citizen. They may want the people speak out. Freedom of speech done gone inside the gutter. Knock off when you open your mouth. Discrimination in entertainment. And you're talking about one Guyana. When the Ministry of Culture keep the big shows. One set of girls and banner. Cause I done fed up, you done fed up, he done fed up, she done fed up, we done fed up, the people fed up. You're hiding corruption inside the cup. Look how evil set up. The people fed up. Every picture you take and promise you make, everything you do is about clouds. Then you come into me for I shake your hand, there's nothing to smile about. Corruption inside every sector, but when it comes to them they send you. Try investigate efficiency, right? Go talk to Barrett and Sue. Cause I done fed up, you done fed up, he done fed up, she done fed up, we done fed up, the people fed up. You're hiding corruption inside the cup. Look how evil set up. The people fed up. I done fed up on the dirty water, low pressure, want scream and tell somebody. Imagine 1500 US and they're telling me super salary. I done fed up on the unemployment racism and the lie they say one Guyana. Cause when you look with the oil money going, circulate with one set of banner. Cause I done fed up, you done fed up, he done fed up, she done fed up, we done fed up, the people fed up. You're hiding corruption inside the cup. Look how evil set up. The people fed up.
Good evening, everyone. A blessed Sunday to each and every one of you. I know that we're winding down the weekend, and of course, I hope that you guys would have had a happy and productive weekend thus far. We have a few more hours to go in the weekend, right? All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are yet again here for another program of People for the People by the People. I welcome each and every one of you once again, and I thank each and every one of you for allowing Bench Up Radio 107.1 FM to come into your home this Sunday evening. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have a few things to discuss. All right, that we're going to be touching on, and we're going to be picking up on some points from yesterday also as to why we are here fighting. Okay? Because there are many out there that wants to know why we are fighting. All right? So we need to continue to edify them as to why we are fighting. Please go ahead and like your program and share the link. Share, 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 share. Knowledge is power. And we're all going to teach and edify each other right here every weekend on Over to You, right here on 107.1 FM. I will go ahead and I'll do today's roll call. In the interim, you guys can just continue to share the link and give your program the thumbs up. All right. Aileen Norton, a pleasant good evening to you. Welcome to tonight's broadcast. Yvonne Rodriguez, all the way from the beautiful island of Barbados. Welcome to tonight's broadcast. And then we go on the ground, Cooperative Republic of Guyana, all the way out to Region 2, where we find my good friend, Puran Ramdas. A pleasant good evening to you, my brother. Miss Sandra Hanover, the freedom fighter, is in the house. Good evening to you, Miss Sandra Hanover. And thank you for your participation and all the help that you give me right here on a weekly basis. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Francis Keith Rockcliffe is in the house. A pleasant good evening to you, sir. Miss Darkus John is in the house. Good evening, Miss John. Miss Maxine Monroe is in the house. Pace and Tower. Lawrence McKenzie is here. A pleasant good evening to you, sir. Miss Beverly Ann Romaine, the first Canadian in the house this evening. A pleasant good evening to you, Beverly. Neville Seatal, yes, Civic is in the house. Good evening to you, my brother. I hope that you and family are keeping well. Kenneth DeFlormont is here. Yes, the state of Maryland is in the house. Charlene A. Moses is in the house. Whenever Charlene is here, there must be fire and there must be some real peace. All right. Quasi Rawlins is in the house. Good evening to you, Mr. Rawlins. Patricia Graves, also a pleasant good evening to you, Miss Graves Andy. Deslyn Wilson, by way of Victoria, in the house. Good evening, Miss Wilson. Rastaman is here again. Good evening, my brother. You're on time again. I am counting. You're on time consistently. Floretta Hamilton is in the house. A pleasant good evening to you, Miss Hamilton. Shondell Griffith, my sister and granddaughter of the PNC stalwart, Mignon Griffith, is in the house. Good evening to you, Miss Shondell Griffith. Don Wilson is here. Good evening to you. Norville Berkshire is in the house. Yes, the state of Texas is here this evening. Good evening, sir. Welcome to the broadcast. Angeli Abrams is in the house. Good evening, Miss Abrams. Miss Desiree Simons is here. A pleasant good evening to you, Miss Simons. Miss Brenda Braithwaite is in the house. Good evening to you, Miss Brenda Braithwaite. I hope that you are keeping well. Miss Brenda Casey is in the house. Well, we gotta have pace and power this evening. We got a lot of freedom fighters here this evening. Jillian Solomon is in the house. And when we talk of belling the cat, Miss Brenda Casey would know about that. Being a retired teacher, I'm sure that she had to bell the cat quite a few times. All right. Annette Besessar Robinson is in the house. A pleasant good evening to you, Annette. Miss Francine Cruz is in the house. Good evening, Miss Francine Cruz. Diana Webster is here. Good evening, Miss Webster. Rhonda Tuesday is in the house. Good evening, Miss Tuesday. Miss Harriet Hall is here. A pleasant good evening to you. Marna Stall is here. A pleasant good evening to you. Ismay Lamy is in the house. Good evening. Leona Mahace is here. Good evening, Leona. Sharma E. Grant Melville is in the house. Good evening. I see Mr. Clifton Colley, my childhood friend, is in the house. Good evening to you, my brother. Garfield Collins is here. Good evening to you. Marcus Skinner is in the house. I see our executive producer, my brother, Mr. Gavin Caesar, is here. Good evening, Gavin. Vern Henry is here, or Uvern. I hope I get it right. Correct me if it's Uvern or Vern. I think it's Uvern. Henry, good evening to you. Miss Hazel Johnson is here. A pleasant good evening to you. And my brother from another mother, Mr. Jamal Aziz, is in the house. Good evening, Jamal, to you and family. Miss Audrey Brown is here. Good evening to you. Miss Rita Clark is in the house. A pleasant good evening to you. Patricia Asana is here. A pleasant good evening to you also. The Honorable Mr. Keith Beresford is in the house. Good evening, Keith. Raquel Gentle is here. Good evening, good evening. Thomasina Ben is in the house. Claudette Allen is here. Pamela Nelson is here. Top of the evening to all of you. Miss Siobhan McDonald, it's good to see you. Good evening and welcome to the broadcast, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Where do we start off? So we know that a young man from Aslington died in the hands of the Guyana police force just 2 weeks or so back, right? And when we talk about the Guyana police force, specifically the Cove and John police station. All right. Staying staying with consistency. All right. The Covan John police station is reporting that there are 7 firearms missing, ladies and gentlemen. 7 firearms missing. And they have it that, a lot of times these police officers, and I've heard it a lot of people say, Wayne, I believe that a lot of police work hand in hand with the criminals. Look, look, I'm just saying how the people are thinking, right? I remember back in the days, and you guys on the program here remember back in the days we used to play the game called Police and Thief, right? But it looks like if we play that game today, it's not going to be police and thief. It's going to be a game of thief and thief, right? It look like if it's everybody, who is just taken from the citizens. All right. So we have 4 9mm pistols missing and 3 32 pistols missing. Right. These are weapons that are typically used in the normal day-to-day robberies that we see across Guyana. All right. And I don't understand. You're talking about a facility that's a police station and what we call a precinct here in the United States of America. That is supposed to be one of the safest spaces. Now, how is it that we have 7 weapons missing? 68 rounds of ammunition is also missing. From where? The Covan John police station. There's some explaining that needs to be done there. And from what I would have understand, there is also an officer that would have been arrested in relation to the matter. And from reports that we're getting, that officer remains in custody as investigations continue. Well, I believe they say during an investigation, certain information cannot be given. But at some point, I believe the name of that officer needs to be made public because the public needs to be assured that that officer, once due process would have been done and completed, and he is guilty, he is no longer a member of the Guyana Police Force. All right. The Guyana Police Force is supposed to be a credible body, a body with charge of protecting the citizenry of Guyana, to, to follow the laws and the standing orders of the Guyana Police Force. That is their job. All right. That is the job. Simple in a nutshell. But, ladies and gentlemen, every coin got 2 sides. Every coin has 2 sides. Right? We got to ask the question, why is it that these police officers are behaving in this manner? Why it is that officers of the Guyana Police Force seems to always be shaking down the citizens for money? Why? Could it be that these officers feel while they are getting a salary that they would have signed up for, that they would have agreed to, the salary is not sufficient? Could it be that? Could it be that the big wigs within the people, and by extension, the government, should take a good look at what they're placing in their pockets when the month comes and make a decision. Are we giving enough compensation to these officers who, to some extent, and you hear what I say, to some extent, not who always, but to some extent, put their lives in danger on a daily basis? And I say to some extent because I'm not sure. Because most of the times when I look at these incidents involving officers of the Guyana Police Force, I see the officers beating away on a citizen or citizens. That's what I see. Right? That's what I see. Rarely, and there's a few times it has happened that I have seen citizens put a beating on an officer. Okay. And even when that happens, and I go on to the comments, a lot of times you see citizens agreeing, I mean, disagreeing with that citizen that would have hit that officer, you know. But the current posture of the Guyana police force and their modus operandi when it comes to following the laws and following the standing orders of the force, there's a big question mark there. There's a massive question mark there. The Guyanese people are not getting value from the Guyana police force. I cannot say the same for the installed PPP cabal because they're getting exactly what they want and what they expect from the Guyana police force. Okay? That's why Clifton Hicken still continues to sit there at the head of the table, installed here by the PPPC. Though he is over the age and should have been retired, he continues to sit there. All right? Fulfilling the goals of the installed PPPs. So there we go. We have 7 weapons. We don't know where they are. All right. Along with ammunition out there. More worry for the Guyanese people because it's been known that members of the Guyana police force in the past have worked with criminals orchestrating robberies. Okay. Yes. They are the orchestrators of robberies in the past. Like everybody just say, ladies and gentlemen, money got for make. Me family got for eat. Right. That's the ignorance that we take and we put in front of the dotish things that we do. But again, charity begins at home. Yes, Miss Hazel Johnson, there is more to come. There is more to come. And we can take all of this that we've talked about yesterday and what we've started the evening with tonight. And we could link all of that back to September 1st, 2025. Voting has consequences. I was looking, I was going through the Village Voice I was going through the Village Voice, just peeling through, and I saw a piece by the Honorable Amanda Walton this year, in which she calls for the opposition unity on the side. I think this might be the second piece that she's put out talking about this, right? She wants to see unity on the side of the opposition. You know, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to say this. When we speak, when we speak, we have to be very careful, okay? And not just when we speak, our actions. We have to be able to defend our actions at all time. At all times. I, me personally, Wayne Caesar, I don't care who you are. Okay? I don't care. You have to be able to defend your actions at all times. You have to be able to discern and remember the audience that you're speaking to. All right. For example, this audience that is before me this evening, I deem them intellectual. All right. And this is you guys watching. You cannot come here and present nonsense. It's not going to work. All right. No, you are calling for unity. Does your track record depict unity? Now, ladies and gentlemen, I am not here to bash anybody. I'm just laying the points down right here. All right. Okay. How is it now that one can call for unity when one would have called for the votes to be split? All right. How is it that you are calling for unity now when, with the same breath, you call for the votes to be split? What is it that you really want? All right. This is going to be a game of elimination. All right. Enough with these politicians coming and playing the Guyanese people. Enough of it. We're not going for it anymore. We're not going for it. The PNCR was there. A new leader was elected. All right, ladies and gentlemen, a new leader was elected in August Martin. A man who has sat in a party for 50 years and waited for that position. All right. He has even put people in front of him when he could have taken the opportunity. For example, Comrade Maury. All right. No, ladies and gentlemen, no one is perfect. No one is perfect. All right. But there is something that is called the unwritten rule. All right. Beverly Ann Romaine. She sits in the position of leadership. I'm using her as an example of the PNCR. Wayne Caesar is an MP. Wayne Caesar don't see eye to eye with Beverly and Romaine, and for some reason, I don't like her. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, the fact that I don't see eye to eye on everything with her and I don't like her, I have to remember she is the leader of the party, and I must respect the position. Okay? I must respect the position. I cannot go behind our back, talking about her and doing all these type of things. Right? We are a party, and we're supposed to stand with each other. It is okay to have disagreements. That's a part of democracy. We can agree to disagree and move forward. But it's not on me to come and tell all you guys here that, oh, we need to remove Beverly Ann Romaine. I didn't pick her and put her there in that position. She was duly elected at a biannual Congress by the groups to be in that position. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, you know, a few weeks back, maybe 2 months or a month back or a month and a half back, you had a set of people hitting social media. That Comrade Norton. But till now, nobody can show the receipts. Nobody can show the receipts till now. So everywhere you turn around, you got propaganda. No one can show the receipts. Now look, ladies and gentlemen, sometimes you got to stay the course. You see me, I believe, this is my belief. I believe that whenever your time is right, it is going to be right. Don't try to force yourself into a position. Don't try to throw people under the bus to get to a position. Because when you throw people under the bus, people are knowledgeable enough to see that you're throwing people under the bus. And when you get there and you're the captain of the ship, people are not going to treat you with any measure of respect because they would have seen what you would have done to get there. So we got to pick a side and we got to pick an approach. We can't be approaching right, left, east, west, north, and south. No, we need an approach, right? Guyanese, the Guyanese people, they didn't get amnesia. They remember the whole breakup when everybody keeps separating themselves from the PNC. You know, everybody keeps separating themselves. Oh, I'm forming my own party, having everybody, all the people confused. You know, sometimes we sit down and we want to think why it is that APNU only get 12 seats. We forget all these hurdles. These things have ramifications, man. All right. These things create optics. And the optics wasn't positive. All right. Listen, I'm not trying to bash anybody, but what I'm saying is come on. You have all of this behind you. This is your track record. But you're going to come to the table to talk about unity. You're going to come to the table and speak about unity. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been one of the fundamental issues with politics in Guyana and specifically with politics on the side of the opposition. There's one of the problems. And you know something? I'll tell you this. I refuse. I honestly refuse to have people speak out of both sides of their mouth and then come and write a set of jive. Make up your mind. Which one is it? Give us something. Believe in something. This is not about friendships. This is not about developing relationships. This is about the people of Guyana that 60% of them are living in poverty. It's about the people of Ghana. 35% of them is living in abject poverty. This is about a people that is being suppressed and oppressed by an oppressive government. So this is not time for nonsense. This is not time for playing games. This is time for politicians to come clean. You know something, Francine Cruz? I see what you're saying. Amans is not your cup of tea. The party was toxic and all this stuff. All right, Francine Cruz, but let's take straight to the point here. You said to split the votes because you had a horse in the race. Okay? The votes were split. You got one seat. But now you're coming back after you've called for the votes to be split and you're asking for unity. At elections, you want everybody to split up the vote. But then when it's finished, you want to call for unity. So you're the leader. I want to say this. If anybody believe, you understand me, that they're going to continue to fool Guyanese and slip in the back door and become leader, it ain't gonna happen. I'm telling you, it ain't gonna happen. It's not going to happen. You're not going to have the masses behind you. When people come right, the masses is going to rally behind them. We don't want no shaky leaders. We don't want any borderline leaders, right? We don't want any leaders on a slippery slope. As soon as you stay towards a slide on the other side, okay? We need strong leaders, all right? Leaders with moral values and integrity. Not saying that anybody don't have that. I'm saying what the people of Guyana needs. Leaders that have an appetite to serve the people. Their number one responsibility is servitude to the people of Guyana. Not saying one thing today, something else a month later, and then something else 3 months later. That's inconsistent. That is inconsistent. You can't do what is not right, right? But then you want to get yourself in a certain position, and then you're changing after you've navigated yourself to that position to say that, okay, I am ready to do the right thing. How can people be assured? Hmm? Thank you, former Member of Parliament, Mr. Ernest Elliott. No borderline leaders. No borderline leaders. So, to the Honorable Amanda Walton this year, and look, I respect Miss Amanda Walton this year. She has served. I respect people who have served. But look, man, this fight here has changed. All right? This fight has changed. I have seen a lot of people who've come out and said, yes, the Constitution said that you need to put the opposition leader in place. I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that. But Jesus, don't you guys look at character? Will character matter? That's why Guyana is the way it is. That's why Guyana is the way it is. I will rest on this matter for now. But there is more. There is more. Ladies and gentlemen, you know something? Oh, look at this picture. A picture of humanity. A picture of the Honorable Member of Parliament, Comrade Nima Flew Best. In the time of the bulldozer friendship, taking the time out of our schedule to feed a young child. Look at this. Look at this presentation, ladies and gentlemen. Look at the optics here. What do you read from this? Hmm? What do you read from this? And I want to say this. I want to say this to the people who just vote for the PPP. Yes, I got a beef with y'all this evening. You guys, you sit there. You sit there and you allow these things without challenging the government that you have voted for to do better and make good on governing for all Guyanese and put a cease to these type of bulldozing that leaves mothers and children in the street. You are stifling your consciences. You are turning away from doing the right thing and following what is wrong, what is morally wrong. You should be ashamed of yourselves. You should be ashamed of yourself. You listen, ladies and gentlemen, and I say this tonight without hesitation, and I will be collusive right here. There is no predominantly African-led government that could have sat in Guyana and do such things to people of Chinese East Indian descent. I sit this platform and respect that government. They wouldn't get an ounce of my respect. They would not get an ounce of my respect. And that is the problem. That is the fundamental problem. The African Guyanese is willing to bend for betterment, but their East Indian brothers and sisters are standing strong at voting along ethnic lines. You understand me? Not looking at the issues, not looking at parties on their track record. Give me the track record of the APNU. Give me the track record of the APNU, whereby they would have bulldozed or displaced any citizen of Guyana. Yes, maybe one every once in a while they may have moved slow on a project. And some of you are so lost, you know, you just do not use your brain to analyze things. Oh, APNU didn't do this, APNU didn't do that. Did APNU have access to the type of funds that the PPP have access to now? Whereby 6 years have gone by. This is a sixth year, and you're now on your second $100,000 cash distribution in 6 years. Okay? In 6 years, you're on your second. All right? With a 60% poverty rate and a 35% abject poverty. I know it's 58%. I'm an accountant, 60%. I round things. All right? So be ashamed. You guys talk of transformation. Hmm? With all the resources and all the monies that would have passed through this country, Guyanese are still sitting there experiencing Christmas lights all the way through the year, flickering. All right? Spoiling all their electronics. 2020, 43.5 billion allocated to GPL. 43.5 billion allocated to GPL. While, ladies and gentlemen, this same GPL owes more than $1 billion to the mayor and city council of Georgetown. And this is just GPL. I'm sure the GPHC also owes the city of Georgetown. I'm sure about every government institution or location across Georgetown owes the mayor and city council of Georgetown. This is shameful, ladies and gentlemen. 20.1 billion allocated in 2021 to GPL. $29.4 billion 2022. 43.3 billion with an additional 1.8 allocated to GPL in 2023. Right? This is ridiculous. And the 43.3 billion was more so responsible for installing the 1.8 additional billion was more so responsible for installing solar lights across 49 different locations in the country for a grand total of 45.1 billion in 2020. 2024, 95.7 billion, with 80 billion earmarked for the gas to energy project. That's supposed to come on board when? Wasn't that since 2024, 25? It's still not on board yet. I'm confident that we're going to go through 2026 and it still will not be on board. 80 billion earmarked for gas to energy. And still with that, they went back for an additional 19 billion for a grand total of $114.7 billion for 2020. Just the GPL, ladies and gentlemen. Just the GPL. Look, I'm going to say this, and people might say, oh, Wayne, why are you saying this? It's better for you to give the people two cash transfer and let them go through their blackouts, man. Makes sense. Because you're spending all this money, but you're not providing, the services that government should be providing to their people. You've agreed to provide the service. GWI, you got one look like orange one day, it looked like carambola the next day, it looked like coffee one day, and then like black tea. And we go on and on and on with the different colors, the different pigmentation of the water, right? GPL, 88 billion allocated in 2025. $88 billion allocated in 2025, ladies and gentlemen. And when they're done, they come back for another 29.8 billion for a grand total of $117.8 billion for 2025, ladies and gentlemen. Hmm? They have killed us with infrastructure. Hmm? 2020, 34.4 billion. 2021, 347.45 billion. 2023, 136.1 billion. 2024, 204.1 billion. 2025, 209.3 billion. What are we showing for all this money? The breakdown police station building. That is what we're showing. We got to do better. We got to do better, ladies and gentlemen. And you know something? You know what's funny? And I'll say this to APNU supporters. I'm saying this to you guys. And look, you guys are right. What I'm gonna say, you guys are right for saying what you're saying. And I'm gonna tell you guys, don't worry saying it, because nothing is gonna happen. Many of you I have seen and would have called me on the phone. Wayne, it is time for the win party to show some spine and go out there and protest for a new voters list and biometrics. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't believe it's going to happen. I believe that the protest for a new voters list and biometrics is going to come from the side of the APNU. The APNU is by far the most democratic party in that. I'll say it again with hesitation. The APNU is by miles the most democratic party in Guyana and operates within the scope of the democratic framework. Right? I'm saying this. The APNU is not a party that would go to the mayor's council, not even go to them, but put out a pronouncement that we are taking away 57 streets from a mayor and city council. And as that, for a matter of fact, would have been poorly funded by central government. So you're going to take these 57 streets and you're going to put all the resources into those 57 streets. And you're going to continue to starve the mayor and city council, okay? To put the optics out there that this mayor and city council, they are no good for Georgetown. And we should just eliminate them and go ahead with central government doing everything. Ladies and gentlemen, on the ground in Guyana, the guardrails of democracy in your country is being infringed upon, is being eliminated right before your eyes. Again, I have warned you guys over and over. Please open your eyes and see the light. Stop stifling your conscience. Many of you went into 2025 saying, you know something? PPP gonna do something for we. PPP is going to do something for we. Saying it in country language. Guyana country language. My question to you on this day, the 19th day of April 2026, is what have the People's Progressive Party Civic done for you? That's my question. Examine yourselves. You don't have to directly answer me. Examine yourself. Okay, people of Victoria, examine your village. The forest village purchased by our ancestors. Take a look at it. Take a look at it. And you can look at that, look at yourself, and that can give you a determination whether the PPP cares about developing African communities and, having a space, on the economic front within the structure of the economic framework for African Guyanese to be successful. A lot of people bumps those raise, when all the presenters get very specific with African Guyanese. Well, here your bomb's gonna raise and it's gonna continue raising. It's gonna because we're not gonna stop. It's facts. It's the truth. And I encourage all my fellow presenters to continue to nail the truth. Nail it. Don't ever hesitate. It's the absolute truth. And it needs to stop. African Guyanese across Guyana need to stop walking with their heads down. Young men, stop getting into robberies. Stop having people hand you guns. Stop it. Start doing the right thing. Okay? Tomorrow does not necessarily have to look like today. Okay? Tomorrow does not necessarily have to look like today. You can change that. You can change that. Don't always look for help. Build yourself up. Build yourself up. I say this, and I said it yesterday. I'll say it again this evening. The leaders of the PNCR need to have their eyes open at all times. They need to make sure that they are protecting the party's intelligence. All right? I am saying this factually. They are still serpents within the party. All right? They are still serpents to be removed within the party. They are still people. Listen, here, when you have a leader and you just lashing out at that leader publicly and there was no personal meeting, you don't have any receipts to say that, okay, I had this personal meeting with him, this is what he's telling me, and that's why I'm saying this, or I'm saying that, or this is why this is my position. If you don't have that, you're out of place. And I've seen a lot of people who would have been out of place. And to the leadership within the APNU, there's a lot of work to be done. The 12 MPs are doing an absolute excellent job. All right. We have some good MPs that was left off the team. I say to them, do not give up. Do not give up. You're not going to make every team. All right. If you continue to fight with your party and your party is able to recapture government, well, there you go. And you shouldn't be worrying about a seat. I believe that what you should be more so worrying about is how am I going to be able to put forth my best work serving the people of Guyana. I think that's more important. Because myself personally, if I was an MP sitting outside looking in right now, and I wouldn't have been outside looking in, I'd have been at every meeting with the 12, encouraging them, trying to spur them on, because the better position that the PNCR and APNU, by extension, is in, is the more seats it's going to come. I believe that if an election is held within a year or so, I believe that the APNU will gain back more than 90% of those seats that were lost. People just don't have confidence in a new party. Why? I'll say it again. I believe that new party got beside themselves. They got ahead of themselves. They forget that a party that is just 2 seats behind them is a 50-plus-year-old party that has a very rich history. I think that they forgot when you take all the leaders of all the parties and you put them across the board, right? Here you got one with 19 fraud charges, right? And here you got one fighting extradition. So what is Comrade Norton fighting, ladies and gentlemen? Tell me, what is Comrade Norton fighting? A few idiots on social media that you know, cuckoo going off, you know, He's in their head all the time. He's not a leader of the opposition. He's not a leader of the opposition anymore. Leave the man alone. Let's move forward with the issues. Let's get Win to bell the cat on some of these issues. Let's don't play games. Let's don't use the Village Voice platform to come and write nonsense. Let's show that we can collectively get together. Let's show that. Because in the first place, many of you are calling for unity today is the same ones who will have caused the separations and thought that you were so high, mighty, and powerful. You're not. Look at the PPP. They're a runaway train. Ain't nobody stopping that. They're a runaway train. Ladies and gentlemen, when you sit in a position of power, you have to be strategic. You have to think about what you're saying. You have to think about what you're doing. Right? Because everything we do, it's a means to an end, right? It's a means to an end. You can't create destruction and then come back and call for unity. Come on now, man. We're smart here. And you know, sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, and you know, when I come here on this program, guys, I'm honest with you guys. I speak nothing but the truth. You know what people sit down and say? Oh, somebody talked to Wayne Caesar and now he's coming out and he's saying this. No, nobody don't talk to me. Nobody determines what I say. I have to do my analysis. I have to look at people, look at their character, look at things that they would have said in the past and look at what they're saying now and try to put the two together, make sure that it is tying. In this case, it is not tying. It is not consistent. It is very contradictory. We need good leaders, ladies and gentlemen. We need good leaders. When you see you standing up for something, you stand up for it, no matter what. Sometimes you have to stand up against your own. All right? You have to stand up against your own. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our program. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, programming this week. All right? Right here on Bench Up Radio 107.1 FM. We will be having the Straight Up program 5 nights a week, right here with Comrade Mark Anthony Benchcop. Also, programs to watch at Credible Sources with Comrade Sherrod Duncan, In the Ring with Comrade Sherrod Duncan. I believe that program is at 8 p.m. every evening. And the other one also is Buxtonian Morning Time and Guyanese Morning Time with the Honorable Comrade Kedaki Amsterdam. All right? Comrade Kedaki Amsterdam. Also, ladies and gentlemen, please don't forget advancing the cause on the APNU network at 6 p.m. in the afternoon with the Honorable Member of Parliament, Coretta MacDonald. Please do not forget that program. And by the way, I am going to be doing, I believe, consecutive programs with the Honorable MP Coretta MacDonald starting this Wednesday. So you can see me on advancing the cause with Coretta MacDonald. Also, please, guys, please make sure that you look at the program Speaking Out with Comrade Paul Slow and Comrade Clinton Conway. All right, please make sure that you tune in. That program is at 12 p.m. sharp, Mondays and Wednesdays. And on Fridays, it is at 4 p.m. All right, they will be able to give you detailed information with regards to those wet firearms that are missing. All right, so please tune in. Ladies, also, don't forget VIP back-to-back oldies. Okay, Independence back-to-back oldies VIP edition. Host Keith Beresford and the Yankee Crew. Where Eagles Nightclub, Rob Street, Georgetown. When? May 30th and June 6th, 2026. DJ Keith Beresford. DJ Winky Bromel. Sly, one-man band. Genesis, one-man band. Jermaine, the reinforcer, one-man band. Admission, $2,000 at the door. Please don't forget that the first 10 women are free compliments of Bench Up Radio 107.1 FM. Also, please don't forget the J-Cut annual Mother's Day boat ride, Sunday, May 10th, 2026. It's a burst of colors on the Nautica Express, where Brooklyn Army Terminal, boarding time 6:30 p.m. sharp, sailing time 7:30 p.m. sharp. All top DJs on board. Again, Miss Joylyn Cotton, annual Mother's Day boat ride. Hey, it's Mother's Day. Mothers, make sure you treat yourself. Go on this boat ride. Guys, make sure that your wife's pocket is loaded with money. And working children, all right, give your mother a good Mother's Day gift so that she can go on the boat ride. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank each and every one of you for joining this evening. I hope that our discussion was edifying. Look, we are going to keep highlighting things on these programs. You know, when people come, these MPs and leaders, when they come, they got to come good. All right, because we will be breaking down their statements. All right, I love you. I love you. I love each and every one of you. Until next Saturday, over to you. Good night.